Woo! Welcome back to the second hour of Lovebabz Lovetalk. Hey, Enroue, it's so lovely to see you.
Hey, Babs. Good morning.
Good morning. I haven't seen you since the election. I mean, I've seen you since the election, but I haven't seen you since the election.
Yes. Some things have been happening.
We're sad. Black women are disappointed and sad all across the world because
Yes.
and we're taking naps now. We're resting.
I'm with you. There's lots of sadness and disappointment and outrage and like, oh, this is where we are, really? Like some real surprise, peeling back layers, right? Oh, like this is really where people with eyes open made the choices they made.
Yeah. All right, get us into prayer. Get us into chanting so we can.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, this has really been, I think with this chant, is just also a good lead into just how to keep moving, right? How to keep living. So we are honoring with this chant our male lineage, and our honor male elders and ancestors, our honored female lineage, elders and ancestors, and then all of our ancestors together for the ashe that they have left for us. And we're using that ashe today. So that ashe is the blessings, the authority, our affinities, our skills, our talents, the wisdom that they've left for us. And we're using that. We're picking it up, using it. So that's this Yoruba chant. Iba ba ba to fun wa se o. Iba ba ba to fun wa se. Iba ba ba to fun wa se o. Iba ba ba to fun wa se. Ashe te fun wa la lo yo. Iba ba ba to fun wa se. Iba ye ye to fun wa se o. Iba ye ye to fun wa se. Iba ye ye to fun wa se o. Iba ye ye to fun wa se. Ashe te fun wa la lo yo. Iba ye ye to fun wa se. Iba egungun to fun wa se o. Iba egungun to fun wa se. Iba egungun to fun wa se o. Iba egungun to fun wa se. Ashe te fun wa la lo yo. Iba egungun to fun wa se. 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 Amen. Ashe.
Amen. Ashe.
Well, first, it's raining today.
Yes,
here in New
which is
Haven,
nice.
which is needed, which is desperately needed by the land. The other day I was outside in the morning and I was like, I smell something burning. And I looked around and the air was smoky. It wasn't foggy. It was like, oh, there's like something happening. And it was a pretty large expanse that I smelled it in New Haven. And then I looked it up and nothing, I didn't find anything immediate, but a couple hours later, There had been a fire in the forest in Great Barrington in western Massachusetts, and the smoke from that fire was blowing down to New Haven. And there's just been, because of this drought, there's been wildfires in Connecticut, which I certainly don't remember being a thing in the 18 years that I've been here. And in my life into the New England hasn't been a thing that we've had to concern ourselves with, but that is certainly the case in these days, as the impact of human beings on the climate is becoming more extreme. So this rain today is such a blessing. And I'm really actually glad that it's like, it'll be heavy at times, but it's not just like a torrential downpour, which will then just quickly kind of run into the rivers and the oceans, but hopefully with the type of rain, it'll really soak into the earth. Because we need it. We need it here. And some places, I have a friend in Toronto, they're having flooding.
Yeah.
So it's like proximities of where we
Yeah.
are. These dramatic changes that are happening. Um, right. So there's to touch back on this piece about the election and the real pain and suffering that's through these new policies and people in power that are happening. And this chant about honoring where we come from and honoring what's been left for us in that lineage and picking that up and using that today is even, it's always important, right? I've been doing this chant and talking about this for a long time. It's been a part of my practice long before Trump. And this aspect of connecting to something, rooting in something that is greater than the conditions and the circumstances that face us now has been important. Not as like oh yes, there's suffering and there's oppression and there's more and all the things, and just put your head in the sand and think of larger things. But actually this connection to larger things, this connection to community, to care, to the lineage that we come from, the wisdom that's there, connection to the sacred and like the wonder of life, like to find our way still in these days with all of the things happening,
Mhm.
the wonder and the beauty and the preciousness of life is crucial, because that's what actually keeps us going and keeps us from falling into despair, that keeps us connected to our humanity in systems that continue to dehumanize us and will continue to do so. And clearly with this election institutionalizes that even more. Right? And that this viewpoint is clearly not mainstream, which is not a surprise, right? And more people have like bought into some story where like, oh yes, voting for Trump is an answer to suffering, right? Particularly to, as people talk about economic suffering, like, oh, somehow the image of, and this is where like what I think the problem of what we've learned and been taught, not just what we've learned, but what we've been really taught by this culture, is the primacy of wealth and a certain kind of power over. And that for many people, even though they see that is not at all within their possibility, that's still something that they aspire to, or at least want someone to lead them who holds that, which is really tragic and has some really severe outcomes to people and to the planet. And so in the face of that, it'd be very easy to just have despair. I would feel hopeless and angry and heartbroken, all the things. And it's understandable, and there needs to be space for grief in that as well. And what's under, right, there can be anger and disappointment, and like, so space for all the feelings, because we're human beings, we're people, and it's important that we are connected to all the ways that our emotions come out, and to feel them, and to not get lost in that despair, disappointment, heartbreak, anger, rage, grief, and to still, life, as this actually very large, expansive thing, is bigger than the conditions and the circumstances that we find ourselves in. And that's actually how our people and how oppressed people have thrived and survived and have had meaning and purpose and fought for liberation for generations upon generations upon generations. It's the way we hold our creativity, we hold our humanity, we hold our personhood, we hold our love and care for each other, even as there are very large structures and systems in place that want to deny those things, want to take those things away, want to manipulate them, to hold them, to crush them, to shape them, and to bend them. And so that is, to me, that is my task and practice, is to stay connected to those things. Also, so that I can then still show up and be creative in the ways to undo oppression, to undo self-limitation, to undo limitations that others tried to put upon me and the people who I love, and the beings and communities that I'm connected to. And that's really that continues to be the way forward for me. And so engaging in these practices helps to remember those things. Oh, right, the sky is still very big, the ocean is still big. I can still connect with, not just like connect with the like in prayer and with the divine, but like, life is still precious and beautiful and full of wonder. And I get to be nourished by that and to fill myself up with that so that I can face the challenges, face the hardship, face the pain, face the suffering, that I have actual capacity to do that. And I can keep leaning on that, keep leaning on, this, in terms of our ancestors, this collective wisdom of how our ancestors have found ways to live even when everything around them says no. And ways even before that we were just lived as people without so much of the kinds of structures that are seeking on controlling and shaping. Right? These people get to live and be well, these people don't. These people are the sacrifice of the machine of this culture and society. And we get to also have agency. And sometimes that means, we have this agency and we're still going to come up against these things. We're still going to come up against it. But we can come up against that together, and we can come up against that with our own strength and dignity.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
A bit. And sometimes that's like, right now, it's nap time, it's recovery time, right? I just gotta
I think
I
that's
gotta
what I'm
tap out.
hearing.
That's okay. Yeah.
I think that's what I'm hearing across the board.
Yeah.
Like we're not saying we're not part of the ecosystem of this country. We're saying, you know what? We need some retreat time.
Well, I think it's a good, like, it's also like a really reassessing for many. Like, yeah, what am I holding? What am I not holding? Where am I putting my energy? Where am I not? Where do I need to? Where do I not need to? Like, I thought this person would, I thought we were on the same page. I thought we were like in this thing together, and like, that's not so much the case. Or how do we dig under, like, there's a rich tradition in this country of people being allies, and then systems of oppression saying, "Ooh, that's dangerous. Let's keep pitting people against each other." That is a rich tradition in this country,
Mm-hmm.
right? People were like, "Yes." I mean, whether it was indigenous people and black enslaved people. Oh, look, right. Oh, okay, so let's right these natural affinities, and then ways that there was systematic policies and practices put in place to pull that apart. Even people who came over who were indentured servants and people who were enslaved, like, oh look, we're being oppressed by these same people. Let's get together. We see our humanity, right? European indentured servants and enslaved African people coming together, having families, having community, like, oh, we are in this same boat. And then, oh, we're gonna tease that apart. We're gonna empower some, we're gonna keep dehumanize other, we're gonna put a wedge in there. Policies and practices. Working class poor whites, working class poor black people trying to get the same kind of work, being exploited by big business and corporations. Oh, that's we can't have people unionizing, getting together. Let's keep using race to like, well, we'll elevate working class whites a little bit and say that you're better, you have this chance, and denigrate poor blacks. Oh, and now, whoa, immigrants coming taking all the jobs. Oh, it's the same. We have all these same wedges that gets put in. Like somehow, working people, the vast majority of people, getting pitted against each other. Oh, that's the other. They're taking away my job instead of saying, oh, these corporations, the purpose is these bottom line, how to get the most work by paying the least amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's the structure. And then it can pit people against each other so that people aren't coming together to make the changes that work for the vast majority of the people. And that's just continues, that continues, right? Oh, these stories of men who are like, well, we don't want to be blamed, we don't want to be shouted at for toxic masculinity, and like we just need someone who like sees us for like being a man and being strong about these things. And like, you don't see actually how dehumanizing it is and the limitations it is of what these systems tell us about what a man is or isn't. Right? We don't see that actually the people holding that up don't see us as people. So I don't. Maybe that's not actually true about Trump and allies and the people in power seeing. Oh yes, I feel seen by them. Not at all. And so the work of like how like this consciousness raising, right? This tearing apart these like veils and these illusions that so many of us have are bought into, because this is just like the bread and butter, the air and the water of this culture. Don't look at it's like the feeling of helping people to be equal. Well, if people are told this illusion, well, you have this place of privilege, right? Oh, well, if these people get more, that means you get less, right? Versus, and all these people are scrambling for like this one tiny slice of a pie, when like all the other pie and all the other pies are being held by 10 people, and they're like, yeah, you all
Mm-hmm.
fight over that little slice, and you deserve that slice more than they deserve that slice. Instead of, oh, look at slicing slices of pies. That's what we're. But that's takes effort and work to change how we see our role, how we see what it means to be a person, how we see where does that possibility even lie, where does that success actually lie. About learn education being about learning, where people can afford a place to live, right? Can afford healthcare. These very concrete things. But all we're given is these very narrow bands of what leads us there. Right? Oh, well, a certain kind of wealth, a certain kind of status, a certain kind of power over somebody else. You get hit by something, you turn on, you hit the person next to you. Right? Someone crosses you, you hurt them. You
Mm-hmm.
wage war on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you feel uncomfortable. It's their fault. You push them away. You have a right to be and express however you want all the time. It's all these things. That's why we are where we are. And the different, I see something I was thinking of is so there are things in like biologically, right? So I was musing about this. So years ago, I studied psychology as an undergrad, and there are these studies that were done a long time ago where they hook animals up to. They have these sensors hooked up to the pleasure centers of their brains, and the animal can like hit a lever for food or hit a lever to have that pleasure center stimulated. And like across the board, these animals are like sitting hitting this pleasure center all day long and starving,
Oh,
right? That's what they're doing. And
oh,
so we're in a culture that is really good at like tapping that pleasure center, right? Which is also about like numbing from discomfort, all these things, as well as encouraging fear, right? Oh, these people are going to take away your pleasure. These are the things they're going to do. And you have the right to have the giant TV, to have the phone that we're locked in, and the mechanisms that are in those things keep our attention in that, stimulate things in our brain and our bodies to pay attention to it. One thing that was surprising as a psych major was how many people went into like advertising, right? Because like, oh, how do you manipulate the like human condition to keep paying attention to something? Oh, something is moving in our field of vision. Our biology is geared to look at it, right? There's stimulation in that. Oh, look, we're scrolling. There's stimulation in things are moving, right? So our body's always like, ooh, what's that? Oh, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? Right? And so our culture is gears us more and more to attend to those things so that we can really buy more things, to pay attention to the thing. And these things are about consuming, right? Not about our development as human beings, not about learning, not about love, not about beauty, not really about connection. I mean, there are those things as well, but like this is where like so much energy is being put into. And so as everyone is like, I was in the car, I was passing this bus, and like everybody in the bus, like you can see them from like the shoulders up, had their heads down, looking at their phone. And I was just thinking, it's not like I'm not like a Luddite. I have a phone, and there are times I do that also. But I look at like the trend of what's happening is like everybody's locked into that, which means we're not seeing each other, we're not seeing the world, right? We're not seeing our relationship to it, our impact on it. Really, we're not feeling into that, and so it becomes easy. So much of the lies and I'm not really going to say disinformation, right? But of distortions of facts and issues and the really structure of how things work in our culture get hidden in those things, right? So there's so much around like, oh, you watch this and you listen to this person and they'll just say, yes, come here, be on my side. And they'll use all the same devices to keep your attention on.
mm-hmm.
So we then internalize and we are consuming, right, putting into our bodies, into our minds, into our psyches, things that the purpose is just to keep us paying attention to them. And if that's a lie, then it's a lie. And so we then just hear it more and more. We hear that message more and more. It's like, oh, that's it. Yes, they're talking to me. They care about me. They're on my side. I'm on their side. And all of a sudden, right, in this negative way, you have all this movement of people voting for someone who does not have their interests in mind at all. And I want you on this team to put me in power. And once I'm there, I'll do what I want to stay in power. And it's very difficult. There's not really the parallel on like beauty and positivity and connection, community and wonder in those same mechanisms. Maybe there is. Maybe someone else can figure out a way that's there also, that gets cultivated. Which is why, to get back to this practice, right? We need these practices that bring us back, right, to something that's larger than these circumstances that we're in, right? Larger than
Mhm.
AI, larger than our cell phones,
Yeah.
right?
That's a good,
Oh,
I like that. That's
this
it.
is
It's the practices.
it's the practice. And that's what helps us to navigate such challenging times because we're like, oh, there's grief and loss and all the things, right? I was in all the stuff and like, okay, yeah, I'm still here. And the work is the same, right? What the circumstances change, right? Who's there is different. But regardless of the outcome, like of this election, even if Harris was elected, it wouldn't all of a sudden be like, oh, now we're free. Look.
Right, right. I mean, but we learned that with Obama, right? Like, I mean, we learned that with everybody. Like,
We don't learn that with everybody. We
we don't.
should. Even, you remember Clinton, people had that same feeling
Oh
with Clinton,
God, yes.
right? That was There's this idea of that somehow this this office or any of these offices are going to really lead to the kind of liberation that we need, right? And there's no illusion. I have my opinion, right? My desire I would rather have Harris there than Trump, right? But there was no illusion about, oh, now it's done. It's like not having, the horrificness, right? How to stave that off more, right? And this is where we are, right? And so, how do we actually keep showing up as our full selves? And that's the task. And draw upon the things that actually nourish us, right? So, this rain is nourishing the plants and the animals.
I think everybody was waiting for this rain.
Yeah. Oh, how do we find those practices that nourish us, especially when we feel like there's nothing, right? There, and to say there is, even in this drought, even yesterday, right? And even now, like this rain isn't like the answer. This little rain, we're not getting enough
Yeah,
rain to
we're
fill
not getting
everything back
enough.
up. This is wonderful. It's like, oh, I'm so thirsty. Oh, I got a little sip. Oh, yes. But I'm not like back to baseline, right? But it's needed. And so we take those things also, right?
Yes,
And we
yes.
recognize it even in the drought, even in this place of which can feel like the drought of our life, this despair, like or however we are experiencing the lack in our lives, there's still wonder. Life is still precious. We can still draw upon things that are larger than just our circumstances, than what we're told the meaning and purpose of something is. And then we can be skillful in addressing it. Okay, so it's a drought. Okay, I'm not going to make a fire. Okay, it's a drought. I'm going to how do I conserve some water? Like these are some things, but I can still then be connected to and it's, wow, what a beautiful day this is also.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And be with others and be in community around that and not be isolated. Oh, everything is in here. I have to. And that's a
Wow.
practice, the rewiring of that, to picking up what our ancestors leave for us, which is really in us. Oh, right. Oh, yes. I'm censoring myself. Oh, yes. I have these old patterns. Or oh my God, there's this intergenerational thing that's just been going on. All right, I'm here now. What do I need to do to make it a little better,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
feel a little bit more, to have some for myself, like to have some kindness and some tenderness and some openness in my heart, have some compassion for people, to learn how to be a father in a different way, learn how to be a partner in a different way, be a friend in a different way,
I think that's right.
bit by bit,
Bit
because
by
that's
bit,
because that's what we have,
bit
right?
by bit.
Bit by bit, we got another day. Okay, I have this day. Let me do what I can do. And some days it's that nap, it's that care, it's that like I need all the comfort. I need all the comfort. And other days it's like, I can be out. I can move forward. I can, and one is not better than the other. It's it's being actually again skillful about what's needed, what we need, what our people need, what our families need, what our communities need, what the land needs, what the animals need.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's the right sort of message as we move toward Thanksgiving and then
Mm,
into Advent, into Christmas. I think people are thinking deeply about practices of rejuvenation and just settling their spirit and their body and just tending to the disappointment of the world and the things that they could control. Like let's
yeah,
get back to focusing on the things that I can actually control in my everyday practical life rather than
yeah.
what's the global community doing. Because if I do my part in my neighborhood for myself, it's like a ripple on the pond, I think.
Mhm.
That's how I feel
Yeah,
anyway.
and hold it. Like it's okay to hold it all. It's okay to hold the grief. It's all to hold the complexity, the complacency, right? Oh, or
Hmm.
the complacency, like all that, and the thankful, the wonder, the blessings that we're here. Like we are here and we're alive. Our ancestors are not. Those to come are not here yet. So let us hold that and be with that to the best of our ability. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good message to take into this holiday season, I think. I think that's a good message
Yeah.
to meditate and to ponder and you know
And to
we
reach
got
out
and to
and to
reach out.
be with, right? To laugh with, right? To cry with, to celebrate with, to muse over with. Because also this time is, different celebrations for different people, different orientations. And some is even with like Thanksgiving, it's thankfulness, family all together, and right, it's also this like day of mourning for Indigenous people, right? So like, how do we hold all of that as well? We got New Year's and Christmas and Hanukkah and like, oh, and then there are people who are not Christian or Jewish. Oh, and there's other celebrations, right? I don't know many of the other holidays, but like, how do we hold all of the like this the complexity and stay with like, yes, we can be with what is joyful and celebratory. We can be with what is challenging and even harmful with our eyes open, with our hearts open. All right?
Yeah.
Not just like,
And Harry chimed in with his self. We could laugh at the cabinet picks. Well, we are, but in the laughing, it's just a second away from crying.
yeah, yeah, right, right.
So, well, Enroue will be back December 5th, and and by that time we'll be into Advent. But thank you for this. I think this is a good Thanksgiving message or a good harvest
It's
message.
it's to me, it's like this is let's just do this, be with this
Yeah.
all the days.
All the days. But you know when people like to hang their hearts around something,
Sure, no, of course, of
so
course. It's a good
you
reason.
know,
It's a good
yeah,
reason. Like, oh, yes, let me do all the things. Great.
okay.
And then like start the practice. Like, oh,
And then it becomes
do this.
and then before you know it, it's the
Before you
practice for
know it,
everyday living.
there you go.
That's the
Feel it
practice.
down. Little
Yes.
lecture rolls through. Oh, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry. You be
Have a
well.
wonderful holiday. And I know I will see you around, but I'll
I
see
will
you
see
back
you around and about.
on December
Yes.
5th. Thank you.
All right. Be
Have a
well,
good
everybody.
one. Be well, everybody. See y'all on Monday. You know, I'll be back on Monday, Harry, not tomorrow. Monday.